A rookie yet ambitious plastic surgeon falls in love with her superior, thinking that he's the perfect man. Unbeknownst to her, he's hiding a dark secret that will put her life at risk. One night, in Beverly Hills, Tracy Bingham is about to leave for her date when a gloved hand grabs her from behind and sedates her. A few moments later, Tracy feels disoriented and finds herself bound to a table. She fears for her safety, so she tries to break herself free. Unfortunately, her masked captor appears and starts to cut her cheek with a scalpel. The next day, in the P&N plastic surgery clinic, Brad, a former employee, tries to convince Lori that Dr. Peterson is involved in Tracy's passing. He emphasizes that she was one of their patients who had an affair with Peterson, but Lori dismisses him. Politely, Detective Elliot interjects in their conversation and requests that Lori contact Dr. Peterson to obtain his statement regarding Brad's accusation. At that moment, Katelyn Harken appears, and she's surprised at the commotion. Lori, thinking she's a customer, apologizes for the humiliating scene. Katelyn clarifies that she's the new resident, which catches Brad's attention. Before he leaves, he warns her about the dangers lurking behind the clinic walls. Since Brad has a poor reputation in their practice, Lori ignores him and simply gives Katelyn a warm welcome. She then guides Katelyn to the co-founder's office so that she can introduce herself. Upon entering the room, Katelyn expresses her excitement about working with Dr. Nichols, but she's disinterested in her. After meeting with the uptight surgeon, Katelyn unexpectedly bumps into Dr. Jacob Peterson, one of the founders. The man is happy to finally meet her in person, especially since she's his favorite professor's daughter. He advises her to take her first day easy, as he'll integrate her into their sessions tomorrow, which makes Katelyn excited to be part of it. The following day at work, Peterson introduces Katelyn to their patient, Sarah Gladwell. However, Sarah isn't enthusiastic about meeting the new resident, as she finds Katelyn a threat to Peterson's affections. Moving on, Peterson checks Sarah's file, and he considers it's time to remove the cast on her nose. Peterson examines Sarah's nose, and he's delighted that it healed properly. This time, Peterson encourages Katelyn to give it a feel, and she complies. Immediately, Katelyn hypothesizes that Peterson used Sarah's rib as a replacement cartilage on her nose. Peterson commends Katelyn's evaluation, whereas Sarah is annoyed at her overconfidence. Following an exhausting day, Katelyn visits Lori at the reception area to talk about her experiences. In hopes of relieving her friend's stress, Lori grabs a liquor she's concealing under her desk and pours her a cup. To start their conversation, Lori reveals that she used to be one of the clinic's residents, but her involvement in a car accident forced her to change careers. Still, she's thankful for Peterson and his ex-wife Alana for helping her recover and fixing her face. That night, Sarah finds herself bound to her bed, which is covered in a sheet of plastic. Fearful, the woman screams for help, but the masked person sedates her again before subjecting her to a horrific ordeal. The following morning, Detective Elliot enters Katelyn's car and requests that she provide him with information about P&N's former patients. Katelyn refuses because it may endanger her career, but the detective insists. Elliot reveals that another patient from their clinic has perished and suffered the same fate as the others. When Katelyn remains uncooperative, he hands her a folder containing evidence from the crime scenes, hoping she will consider his request. Sometime after, Katelyn arrives at the clinic, and Lori notices her shaken expression. Concerned, she checks on her, and Katelyn shares that Elliot showed up at her residence, making Lori wonder what he wanted. Their conversation is interrupted when Nichols passes by, prompting Katelyn to request to join her rhinoplasty operation later. To her dismay, the woman refuses, which creates an air of awkwardness in the room. While Nichols treats Katelyn coldly, Peterson patiently guides her toward becoming a surgeon, bringing them closer. One day, Peterson supervises Katelyn as she harvests healthy cartilage from their patient's rib. Moments later, Katelyn invites Peterson to have a drink with her to show her gratitude for him. After a moment of consideration, he accepts and instructs her to meet him at a restaurant. With a skip to her feet, Katelyn walks to her car, excited to get home and prepare for her date. To her surprise, Brad appears in front of her. He warns her that Peterson is a sinister man, and he caught him fooling around with a patient. Hence, he's on a mission to find evidence that will pin him, but Katelyn remains doubtful of him. That night, at the restaurant, the pair's relationship starts to grow even deeper as they share the same bittersweet experience of losing a loved one. Eventually, Peterson drives Katelyn home, and before he leaves, he gives her a quick kiss on the cheek. Katelyn proceeds to head inside, but she can't stop herself from smiling. Just then, Katelyn opens the door after hearing a knock, and Peterson closes the distance between them with a kiss, officially starting their romantic affair. The next day, Katelyn overhears Elliot interrogating Nichols about Peterson's possible involvement with the recent killings. She wastes no time and interrupts their conversation on a mission to clear her lover's name. Annoyed at his bothersome presence, Katelyn confronts Elliot for his insistence on pursuing Peterson. He explains that he's considering Peterson as the possible perpetrator for Sarah Gladwell's recent passing. Though shocked, Katelyn gets upset at the detective's accusation. She advises him to leave Peterson alone and focus on Brad instead, whom she finds more suspicious. However, Elliot thinks it's absurd because all of the women who have perished are Peterson's girlfriends. Due to her conversation with Elliot, Katelyn can't sleep, so she decides to check the evidence in the envelope he gave her. As she browses through the photographs, Katelyn is disturbed by their gruesome fate. The following day, in the surgery room, Nichols supervises Katelyn as she performs surgery, and she's impressed that her subordinate is performing well. Initially, their operations start smoothly, but the patient moves, so Nichols orders her to administer more morphine. Katelyn feels pressured because she can't find any, and Nichols reminds her that they only have a limited time. Right away, Katelyn scans their medical supply and retrieves ketamine as a substitute. Once she administers the substance to the patient, Nichols reprimands her for her decision and orders her to leave the surgery room. In the locker room, Katelyn is frustrated at herself and starts to doubt her capabilities. At that moment, Peterson appears, and he gives her words of encouragement. With their proximity, he can't contain his desire for her, so he initiates making love to her. Back home, Katelyn hears a thud inside her closet, so she carefully checks it. The first one reveals nothing suspicious, but she refuses to be complacent. Carefully, she walks to the nightstand to grab her glass when Brad gets out of her other closet. Terrified, Katelyn bashes his head with the glass, subduing him. Due to Brad's unwanted presence, Elliot apprehends him, but the man insists that he's just protecting Katelyn from Peterson. He warns her that she's next, but the woman remains skeptical of him. To prove his point, he encourages her to find the lost footage from April 12th, the night Alana went missing. The following day, Katelyn bumps into Lori in the hallway, so the office manager apologizes. She explains that due to the accident, she's partially blind in her left eye. To lighten the mood, Lori tries to crack a joke, but Katelyn ignores it as she's still rattled about last night. Katelyn informs her friend that Brad intruded into her house, leaving Lori concerned for her. Like her, Peterson is worried for her safety after he learns about the incident, so he invites Katelyn to stay at his house. Peterson accompanies Katelyn to her residence so that she can start packing her belongings. In her room, he notices the detective's file perched on her vanity, making him feel threatened. Eventually, Katelyn arrives at one of Peterson's residences, and she's in awe at how luxurious it looks. While Katelyn enjoys her bath, she receives a text from him, who encourages her to check his closet afterward. There, Katelyn discovers a gift box, which contains a red dress that Peterson has chosen for her, making her excited to try it on. During the night, Katelyn dons the red dress, and Peterson can't resist her temptation, so he makes love to her. After the deed, Katelyn is curious about Peterson's history with Alana, so she wonders how they met. Gladly, Peterson recounts that they met on a dating app, but he wishes it's been more romantic. To make up for it, he stresses that he proposed to her on a hot air balloon using his grandmother's sapphire engagement ring. Speaking of the jewelry, Peterson regrets not getting the ring back. He explains that Alana loves the ring, so he wishes to have a piece of her with him. The next day, Katelyn handles Peterson's latest patient, Jennifer, who underwent a chest enhancement procedure. Throughout their session, Jennifer treats Katelyn coldly, as it turns out that she's jealous of the fact that Peterson chose to be with her. Uncomfortable, Katelyn remains professional and refuses to delve into her personal matters. Once Jennifer leaves, Katelyn notices that she has forgotten her phone, leading her to assume that the woman is clumsy. That evening, Jennifer finally retrieves her phone from the clinic, so she enters her car to get home. Unexpectedly, the masked person sedates her, leaving her helpless. Moments later, Jennifer is terrified for her life as her captor begins to remove layers of her skin. Elsewhere, Katelyn rummages through the cabinet, hoping to find Alana's pictures, curious about her. However, she hears Peterson's arrival, compelling her to pretend that she's asleep. The next day, Katelyn arrives at work, but she's surprised to see that the authorities have flooded the parking area. Immediately, she approaches Lori, who's standing with Dr. Nichols and Detective Elliot near Jennifer's car. She wonders what happened, and Elliot informs her that Jennifer has passed away. Now, the detective interrogates the women about their whereabouts last night. Lori shares that she's with Dr. Nichols and Peterson in the office. On the other hand, Katelyn informs him that she left home early because she's still rattled by the home invasion she experienced. Lori suggests they look at the security footage, but Elliot dismisses it because everything past noon has been erased. Because of this, he questions who else has access to the security footage. Nichols points out that Peterson does, so Elliot asks about his whereabouts. As Katelyn tries to answer, Brad suddenly appears and expresses his disappointment that she is involved with Peterson. Out of fear, Katelyn tries to avoid him, but Brad expresses that he's simply trying to protect her. He warns her that she fits Peterson's standards for women. To prove his point, he enumerates the names of the women who have perished, including Alana. He emphasizes that they share the same appearance as her, further making her fear for her safety. With this fiasco, Nichols encourages Lori and Katelyn to go home, as she volunteers to cancel the appointments. The pair refuses to burden her with all the work, so they offer to assist her. A while later in the lobby, Lori shares that she needs to leave because of the strange events that transpired. Finally, alone, Katelyn heads to the records room and gathers all the files about the casualties Brad mentioned. As she scans through the files, Nichols enters the room and gives her a disapproving look. She reminds Katelyn that it's not her responsibility to solve the case. Curious, Katelyn asks for her opinion about the possibility of Peterson committing the wicked deeds. Nichols thinks it's impossible as she has known him for 12 years. However, Katelyn feels that something is missing, and the date that Brad keeps on mentioning bothers her. She hypothesizes that April 12th was the date when Alana went missing, and the security footage mysteriously disappeared. Wanting more information about the woman, Katelyn inquires Nichols about Alana's maiden name. Her superior reveals that it's Lorik, so Katelyn keeps it in her mind. Out of the blue, Nichols apologizes to her for being hard on her. Despite this, she believes that Katelyn will be a brilliant surgeon, which she appreciates. Just after Nichols leaves, Katelyn rifles through the file cabinet and unearths Alana's file. Upon opening it, Katelyn is shocked that Alana indeed looks like her. Recognizing Brad's warning, Katelyn rushes to her car and calls Elliot. She accuses Peterson of being the culprit, emphasizing that he's motivated to hunt down women who look like his ex-wife. Moreover, she recounts that he came home late yesterday, which means that he killed Jennifer prior. Elliot urges her not to deem Peterson the real culprit yet, as they still lack proper evidence. Instead, he advises her to return to her own house, and he promises to guard her. Meanwhile, Nichols browses her computer and recovers the footage from April 12th. But before she can report it, a mysterious person sedates her. In Katelyn's residence, Peterson visits her to explain his side, but the woman is cautious of him. She threatens him with a knife, compelling Peterson to confess his secrets. He admits that he was a neglectful and unfaithful husband to Alana. However, he clarifies that he didn't kill Alana, but instead, she ended her own life. Still skeptical, Katelyn asks about the lost footage, but Peterson insists that he's clueless. Katelyn then questions his involvement with the killings, but he denies it, and he hypothesizes that someone is trying to set him up. Now, Peterson communicates that he's sincere in his intentions with her. Before Katelyn can acknowledge his words, Elliot appears, and he proceeds to restrain Peterson. Later in bed, Katelyn receives a call from Lori, who appears to be in danger. Alarmed, she quickly gets ready and seeks the authorities' help. Upon entering the clinic, Katelyn tries to search for Lori, but she's nowhere to be found. Hopeful for another presence, she heads to Nichols' office. To her horror, she discovers that Nichols is already dead, with the left side of her face skinned. As if on cue, Katelyn hears Lori's cries for help, so she follows her voice to find her location. Inside the surgery room, Katelyn rushes to Lori's side, who's traumatized after encountering the alleged killer. She attempts to press information from her friend, but Lori is too shaken to respond. All of a sudden, Brad pulls Katelyn away from Lori and expresses that he made the mistake of accusing Peterson. But before he can warn her about the real culprit, Lori stabs him in the neck. Without remorse, she reveals herself as the killer, and she uses Brad's obsession with Peterson to frame him for her crime. Lori adds that she's the one who stole the morphine on the day of her supervision with Nichols, making Katelyn feel betrayed. Immediately, Lori attempts to stab Katelyn, but she's able to dodge her attack. While Lori pursues her, Katelyn confronts her about her motive for killing their previous clients. Lori shares that she's just doing what she loves, which is to perform surgery. Continuing her attempt, Lori pins Katelyn on the ground and vocalizes how she's excited to see how her death will further frame Peterson. Confused, Katelyn asks her why she's persistent in hurting Peterson's reputation. At that moment, Peterson appears and explains that it is Lori's way of avenging her failed career. He then encourages her to pursue other fields of medicine, but Lori insists that she wants to be a surgeon. She's holding a grudge against him for not trusting her that she's still capable. No matter how hard Peterson tries to convince Lori that they can still resolve things, the woman is too blinded by anger, so she stabs him. Afterward, a struggle for the scalpel transpires between Lori and Katelyn, but she's able to overpower her. Helpless, Katelyn pleads with her friend to spare her, but Lori is determined to finish her plan. When she's about to kill Katelyn, Elliot arrives just in time to shoot her fatally. 6 months later, Katelyn and Peterson are living together as they resume their relationship. As she prepares for their date, Katelyn has trouble finding her desired heels, so she searches under the bed. To her surprise, she notices a mysterious jewelry box lying there. Due to her curiosity, she grabs it, and upon opening it, she realizes that it's Alana's ring. Just then, Peterson enters the room to check if she has found her missing heels. She shows him the jewelry, which catches him off guard. He tries to take the ring from her grasp, but a resentful Katelyn forbids him. Bravely, she accuses him of killing Nichols because she remembers her left face was skinned. On the other hand, Lori's casualties are all injured on the opposite. Moreover, she finds it strange that he was at the office that night, but Peterson lies that he was there to save her. Katelyn shows him Nichols' necklace, which pressures him to admit the truth. In a sinister manner, Peterson reveals that he killed Alana after she caught him cheating. He then discloses that Nichols has recovered the security footage, so he killed her before it could ruin his reputation. Now that Katelyn knows all of his darkest secrets, Peterson smothers her face as he has to silence her.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.